All right, we're going to talk about this, and that is free speech. Heartlands Media, we have been strong advocates for free speech. I'm against censorship. I'm against deplatforming. I'm against the silence and removal of content. I despise it. I think it's a sign of absolute weakness. Surely it is. And unfortunately, corporate media has been on that super fast rush to talk about censorship and free speech. So, Secretary of State Marco Rubio was recently on CBS News, and Margaret Brennan made a statement on how the Holocaust happened because of too much free speech. Okay. I don't know what the marching orders are for corporate media, but too much free speech. Listen, I get that on the internet, there are a lot of bad people out there. I get it. There's a lot of morons. There's a lot of people who come up with crackpot conspiracy theories. Okay. There's a lot of people out there that are just saying, posting, and doing terrible things. Okay. But the First Amendment is a treasured amendment because if we lose that freaking thing, it's over for a lot of us. And I don't care where you politically align. Right. So I believe in the right for free speech. That doesn't mean I have to agree with bad guys, okay? Because whenever there's evil or bad guys, guess what? Good people step up. Good people step up on the internet to say, hey, this is wrong, or hey, you'd post that? Well, guess what? We're calling the authorities for real evil things, okay? Benign political statements, whatever. But there is evil out there. But there's also good. I think social media has blinded us to the fact that there's good people out there and that there's good speech and that there's people actually having intellectual debates. I could speak with someone across the political aisle and not be like, well, I'm going to cancel you. It takes a lot for me to want to cancel somebody, okay? Because you know what I do? Tune away, walk away, and that's that. Leave it alone after that. But see, corporate media, they've been on this warpath for free speech. On these rare moments where Marco Rubio's making sense, and this isn't defending him because that man's part of that two-party system too. But all of you need to be made aware of just what is being offered up to the altar of silencing and suppressing people. And as much as I would hope that this administration truly embraces free speech, I'm not trusting Democrat or Republican politicians to do the right thing. So without further ado, we have this video here. Try not to punch your screen. Try not to yell out. But it's enough to make me vomit with rage and also wonder, when's Heartlands Media gonna, or when's all of independent media gonna be silenced?
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship
I have to disagree with
was
you.
specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you.
I know, listen. For a lot of these reactionary people, especially those who do glorified protests, parades, there's a big difference between the United States and 1930s Germania. There's a big difference between Trump and first name Adolf, last name Hitler. There's a big difference between a lot of things. But see, right now, you have the right to protest. It's easy for us to say, oh, we live in a dictatorship or whatever else. We live in an oligarchy right now, okay? And we do have the right to protest, assemble, speak out, post. Occasionally, a media platform could be taken down or a post could be deleted. But I want to be very clear on this. If the United States was currently 1930s Germany, 1940s Germany, there would be no glorified parades. You posting on social media, bum, 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 knock at the door. It's the political police with Commissar Hans and his deputy Fritz. And, you know, while I can't play it because we will get striked, but 60 Minutes did a video segment on how authorities in Germany are knocking on people's doors for posts on social media. This is how I know there's a lot of emotionally immature people that should not, or either that should stay away from the internet. Okay? The internet should be open to all. I get it. But if a post video or something like that triggers you and you must call the police, call the authorities, call the legal services, do whatever, you are not a serious person.
Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history. I also think it's wrong. Again, I go back to the point of his speech. Okay, the point of his speech was basically that there is an erosion in free speech and intolerance for opposing points of view within Europe. And that's of concern because that is eroding. That's not an erosion of your military capabilities. That's not an erosion of your economic standing. That's an erosion of the actual values that bind us together in this transatlantic union that everybody talks about. And I think allies and friends and partners that have worked together now for 80 years should be able to speak frankly to one another in open forums. Without being offended, insulted, or upset. And I spoke to foreign ministers from multiple countries throughout Europe. Many of them probably didn't like the speech or didn't agree with it, but they were continuing to engage with us on all sorts of issues that unite us. So again, at the end of the day, I think that people give all. That is a form in which you're supposed to be inviting people to give speeches, not basically a chorus where everyone is saying the exact same thing.
Now, I also want to bring this up here too. All right. No, this is not defending Marco Rubio, but he is correct. And see, this is how corporate media once again delegitimizes itself, where they lose the trust of the people, because the media is there to be the bastion and defender of free speech. And yes, they're supposed to call out those in power, hold them accountable for their actions and abuse. But because our politicians are owned by the top 1%, and just like our media is, we're seeing the decline of the media and the rise of new media. Because the future of free speech and what it means in the long run is that there's a game being played on who can speak and who cannot speak, who can talk about things and what we cannot post or describe or share on social media. This isn't how a functioning republic should be treating its people, nor should the media be saying, well, this historical event took place because of too much free speech. I'm not an expert historian, but I'm pretty gosh darn sure that there was a big difference in regards to the right for speech before the Third Reich took over and even during its regime. And I got to tell you, it wasn't, oh, hey, everybody, let's speak out. No, it was follow the orders. That's how it was. That's how it was. And when you start invoking, well, there's too much free speech, what are you trying to bring here to the United States? Because I have seen firsthand what happens to content creators and independent media and other journalists when they are silenced and suppressed. And you had the media cheering for it. You know, during the Biden-Harris administration, there was a big old jackboot and gut check to independent media. A lot of people were suffering.
That's not always going to be the case when it's a collection of democracies where leaders have the right and the privilege to speak their minds in forums such as these.
Mr. Secretary, I'm told that we are out of time.
Oh, yeah. Hey, out of time. But you know what else is not out of time? Because, folks, I want to correct something here, too, because this also calls into the future of free speech and, of course, these social media platforms. And yes, I have my criticisms of Elon Musk as well. But I want everyone to be made aware of this because there was a concern. And yes, this was fake news where apparently an individual who made a cartoon had his account taken down. Because when you want to be part of that bandwagon of saying, oh, well, it turns out you're not part of free speech. See, there's a lot of people that are going to capitalize on this chaos. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to capitalize on ignorance and stupidity. And you know what? When I saw this, even I was floored and shocked. I didn't think people would be this dumb. But yet here we are. So this person named Mike Lukvich said, I received this email. It was the last cartoon I posted on Twitter. And so what Mike wrote was, he did a cartoon of Elon Musk taking the money from, poor kids. Just want to pull this up here. Update. I've confirmed this is a fake email. Keep an eye out. All right. So That's a thing that took place. That's a situation that took place. All right. So I found that funny. I found that hilarious. And I'm encouraging all of you to at least keep your heads on a swivel and drink that water, especially when there are people who are trying to support and silence and be a part of that conversation for free speech on how they use it, how they weaponize it, how they want to get rid of it, and then also at the same time, too, to hide behind it when they're doing nefarious actions. If you're going to be bringing up the Holocaust, a very significant historical event, and say the reason why it happened was because of free speech, you are disrespecting so many people. Because when we are witnessing war crimes, abuse of power, and that is being suppressed, especially in a republic, a democracy, and no one's saying anything about it, how dare you, corporate media, CBS, start saying, oh no, we need to start suppressing more free speech when you've been on board with it. We've been seeing how the media goes after whistleblowers and independent media journalists for speaking truth to power. Never forget what happened to Max Blumenthal and his colleague when, during the last days of the Biden-Harris administration, during the press conference, they were both kicked out of the White House press room. I'm not expecting anything from the Trump administration. I am ever hopeful that it will change its ways. I am ever hopeful that perhaps maybe we could be on the pathway to embracing free speech. Nobody's at risk of being terminated, censored, or the everlasting axe will come ahead and swing at us, wanting to sake its blood lust on us. But I am very fearful of these uncertain times that we are in. And the media is cheering it on. But I guess a broken clock can be right twice a day, because you have me agreeing with what Marco Rubio was saying. Don't worry. Don't worry. He's going to do something stupid. He will. That's just how it is. But the media is there saying that something is happening or a horrific event happened because of too much free speech. It's ignoring the good people. It's ignoring people who will step up. It's ignoring people who will stand up against injustice. And during the Second World War, while maybe it might not have been in Germania, there were other people talking about those current events. There were other people, other institutions, resistance cells that were speaking out. If we lose our right for free speech, nobody's speaking. And corporate media has lost its privilege of trying to dictate to us what is right and wrong. Too much free speech? Well, we don't have enough free speech. How's that sound? We do not have enough free speech. And that's how I feel about it.